Well, good morning everybody. Welcome back to another film. So as you can see, I'm along the coast today, and part of the reason I've come here is because I wanted to experience the wintering birds. This is the Morecambe Bay estuary and it's just alive with birds at this time of year. You name it, it's here. Dunlin, oystercatcher, curlew, lapwing, pink-footed geese, redshank, just the list goes on and on and on. And I got here really early this morning. I was out the van before sunrise because that's when the birds tend to be most vocal, just to walk along the shoreline and listen to them greeting almost the new day. Just this cacophony of sound. It's really wonderful, and I urge anyone that hasn't heard it to come and listen to it. So the second reason, of course, is photography, and I've come to this particular location because behind the camera there's a lighthouse that I often photograph, and in doing so I often walk past a group of rocks just off to my right hand side, and I'm dashing to get to the lighthouse for first light or the end of the evening to shoot the sunrise or sunset, and then I'm dashing back to the vehicle to get warm. It's pretty raw out here when the conditions are right, or at the best conditions for the lighthouse. And I always look at these rocks and think, one of these days I'm going to stop and I'm going to photograph those. So with that in mind, I've made a deliberate trip just to come and have a little look around those rocks this morning. The light clearly is very, very flat and dull, and all the sand is reflecting, the wet sand is reflecting that flat, dull light. But once I've had a good look around the rocks to see what I can find there, I'm absolutely certain that if I look hard enough, and that's the key thing here, is to really look hard enough, I'm sure I'll find other opportunities. So just going to enjoy this one this morning. It's not very often I come to the coast, but for me, winter time is the best time without any shadow of a doubt. Just love it, and being part of that wild weather and just experiencing it with the birds is really quite something. So on with the photography. I could be finding myself into a false sense of security here, because immediately as I've got onto the rocks, I've started seeing potential scenes all over the place, and I'm sure with a little bit of time I can come out with some pretty nice images. Whether they happen today or not is to be seen, but just to kick things off, this thing in front of me, this little channel of rocks, really grabbed my attention, and there's some lovely textures and shapes and lines all complementing one another. So I'm going to show you the composition now, and then I'll put the image up and just talk you through why I've aligned it the way I have. I'm going to be quick going back to the camera, because as you can see, this tripod isn't particularly sturdy right now, and that's because the angle of the shot is as such that the tripod leg will be in the way. So I'll quickly grab that camera and get back to here in double time. So this is my image pretty much as the stills camera's got it lined up, and I've blanked off the sides of the composition because the 16:9 aspect ratio was including far more of the scene in than the actual stills camera's going to record. So lots and lots to like about this image for me. Just ignore the tripod leg, which is the reason why I've got my main tripod in such a precarious position. Difficult because it's quite a wide angle lens I've got on at the moment to encompass the whole of the scene. I'm on about 30mm on a full frame camera, 45 or thereabouts on the medium format camera that I use. So clearly we've got that strong diagonal coming from the bottom left into the top right, and what's nice about it is it's quite thin down here, and then it increases in size as it gets further along. You've got these lovely shapes in the sandstone that sort of work in the opposite direction to the little channel of rocks there, and then this line here I'm not too sure about. It does break the scene apart a little bit, and I would have been happy with or without that. But look at the colour of the mosses, the green here, just beautiful, and then contrasting with the lovely sandstone colours All in all, this has got huge amounts of quality in terms of composition, and it's a great starting point for an image. In terms of aperture, I'm on f16 just to give me lots of depth of field, because the camera's on a wide-ish angle lens, and I'm probably about 1.5 meters away from it from the sensor. I've not done any focus stacking, it is just a straight image. And shutter speed's really irrelevant because nothing's moving around, is 2.5 seconds. I have been very, very careful. There's been roundabout, there's some little bits of vegetation. I've moved the larger ones, but there's one or two little small ones which I'll probably clone out if I find them too distracting when it gets to post-processing. Now, I have put a polarizer on, a case polarizer, and dial that in, because this area of rock here was starting to show a lot of reflected light, and I've got rid of as much of that as possible. So I shall put that image on now. So I've only walked about 10 yards from where I took my last image, and already I've found another shot, but I just wanted to show you what we're dealing with here, this little location. So sandstone, rock, lots of colours, lichens making these nice black coloration on the rocks. You've got the lovely red contrasting with that. Shapes and textures everywhere. Look at all the pebbles and the moss, the rock pools. And it really is probably only an area of 20 square yards, something like that. And as I was walking over here just now, just over here, you see that lovely swirl in that mossy capped rock there. Really lovely. Now the camera's already set up on my next image, and look at the reds in that rock there, and that beautiful contrasting dark tones to the right. And what I've set the camera up on is this little pool down here. And I'm going to photograph that in just a second. But I wanted to make the point that when you're on sandstone, very, very soft rock indeed, and these spike feet, which are great by the way, they can easily mark the rock, so just be very, very careful to limit that as much as possible. And certainly where your composition is, it's so easy to damage your potential view. So what I'm going to be photographing is this little pool here, and that line that runs through. And you've also got this lovely dark area of deeper, almost magenta colour on the left hand side. So I'll get this camera up on the back of the stills camera now, and I'll just talk you through the composition. So this is the shot as I've got it all lined up. Just ignore the tripod leg at the bottom right there, that's not in the final image. Simplicity is what this image is all about. There's no distractions as far as I can find. I have taken a couple of little grassy bits just out of the pool, very careful in doing that I didn't drop water on the surrounding rock. But what I love about this is that this little rock pool here, as it's filled and dried up, it's had an effect on the coloration of the surrounding sandstone rock, and I love that contrast that it's given to the more redder, deeper area of rock. I do like this transition line here, this strong diagonal, and like I said before, you've almost got a magenta type look to this side of the image. Very, very simple scene indeed. Settings f19, 100 ISO, 1 1/3 seconds, and this is very attainable to most people with standard kit. This again is a 45mm lens, so not a macro lens, nice and available to most people. So I'll put that image on now. So I've nipped back to the van for two reasons. When I was out there photographing, I had this feeling of impending doom. Today we've got a very, very strong onshore westerly, and I started to think about how high the water might come up the beach, and I couldn't for the life of me remember just where I'd parked in relation to where the highest point of the water is. Where I am, you can actually drive quite far onto the top of the beach and park up, and some of this area is potentially prone to flooding. So try as I might, I couldn't get it out of my head, so I've come back, but it's freezing out there, so I took the opportunity to get myself a quick cup of tea before I nip back out again. So I'll see you in just a second. Do you know, I've said this before on the channel and I want to say it again, it really does pay dividends to work a particular area. I made a video a few months ago called the 24 metre challenge. I'll put a link to that above, where I worked a 24 metre radius of where I put my bag down and just spent quite a bit of time trying to find 3 images, and I did do that. Now, similar thing today, I mean, maybe not 24, probably a 50 metre radius I've worked in, and there's just lots of opportunities, and I'm just trying to cherry pick the best for the video. But I've just been walking around with my phone, which makes life a lot easier because you can quickly align compositions, and I kid you not, wherever I look I'm finding interesting shots, but it's trying to weed out those really great ones. That's what I'm looking for. This one I've just found down here, I like it because it's got lots of shapes, it's got lots of different colours, and it just makes for a really interesting abstract scene. So I'm going to get the stills camera up now and get this one all lined up. So this is my little composition that I've found really nice. Happy with this one. Camera directly overhead as per normal. I'm trying to get the sensor as nice as parallel as I can to the surface of the feature. And what we've got is a circular patch of moss just here, and this moss is probably the greenest moss I've ever seen, so I'll probably have to dial that back a bit in post-processing. But this is just on a little point where there's a curving line, like a scar in the rock, a seam perhaps in the rock that runs through the image in like a reverse S shape. It's a portrait format image, so this S shape in reverse runs all the way through from the bottom right corner to the top left. Got lots of that lovely red sandstone, different tones of it, of course, yellows, nice rusty reds, some dark patches, and it contrasts really nicely with that little green patch there as well. It was a bit of a wrestling match trying to get the camera in the right position, but I'm happy with what I've got now. I've tried the shot with and without a polarizer. Didn't really make much difference that I could see, but I've taken both anyway, just in case it's more apparent when I get it on the computer. I've certainly done a focus stack this time. It's the first one today. Reason being, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is that the top right hand side of the frame is a lot higher than the bottom left part of the frame. So I've just taken a sequence of images moving through from top right to bottom left to ensure that I've got sharpness throughout. It'd be nice to do it in one shot, but I don't think it's achievable. I'm a little bit too close to get that, and as I've said before, depth of field decreases as magnification or distance decreases to the subject. F16, 100 ISO. Shutter speed really irrelevant because nothing's moving, and I've just cleaned one or two little bits up just to make sure. Again, there's these little stalks just blowing around, and I've got rid of those, but overall really quite pleased with this one, so I'll put that one on now. This is unusual for me. I'm going for a 4th image, and it's remarkable considering that I literally I've hardly moved. My bag is still in the same place as it was this morning. There's just so much to go at here. I'm going to be coming back for sure. One of the shots that I was really looking for, or hoping to find, I've actually got the camera set up on now. I'm not going to say too much about it because I would rather people leave comments below as to what they feel it looks like. But it represents something that I'm trying not to give too much away. Maybe an item, a person, an animal, but represents something. And I find that fascinating, looking for these things in the rocks. And for me, I found something that represents one of those things. So, like I said, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think it reminds you of. And it'd be interesting to see if you've got the same thoughts as I have. So, same old setup really. It's the same. It's just so easy. It's just camera over the top, and again, no macro lens. I'm going to show you the composition from a different angle. I don't want to give too much away, just to show you the colours and patterns and textures, because I think that adds a little bit to the interest of the video, just to see that as well. So, as you can see, it's pretty obvious where generally the shot is. I was recently drawn to some of these dark lines here that run through the sandstone, and as it happened, there was two big blobs of bird poo, one there and one there, and I couldn't get the original shot that I wanted. So it was only really when I was trying to reconfigure the image that I saw what I saw. And again, I'm not going to give too much away, but it's in this general area, and I've deliberately put the camera in a position that makes it awkward for you to see, because it's giving the game away. And I hope I'm not bigging this image up too much. It's just that the shapes that I see in these scenes are quite intriguing, I find. So, as always, the other shots, it's the same old lens. It's on 75mm. I've got the polarizer on still, didn't take it off. It's not made any difference, but I've just left it on. F16, and I haven't in this instance done a focus stack because this rock is pretty flat, and I don't feel that I need to go to that extent. So nothing else to say. 100 ISO, and that's it. I'll put that image on now. Well, thank you all so much for watching today. Images to come in just a second. It's actually quite nice here at the moment. The wind has dropped, the tide's gone out, but the birds have certainly gone quiet and nowhere near as vocal as they were first thing this morning. But it's been a great morning. Really enjoyed it, just working this small area. And there must be hundreds of pictures still to be found in this. I'm definitely going to come back. Leave some comments below, let me know what you think of the images today. Certainly that last one, I'd be interested to see what you come up with on that particular shot. As always, if you're not a subscriber, please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. So until next time, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.